guy. What do you think? That was the moment, Roger, where that plan was set in motion, when they were just like, listen, this is it.
Well, I think they had two options at that point. They said, we've either got to get rid of Trump or we got to get rid of Biden. Or maybe we get rid of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't Obama who pulled the plug. Is Obama actually really and truly involved in the removal of Joe Biden? Of course he was. It's just to what extent? And why is it that this guy here has been so prophetic recently?
This clip. Go ahead, Kelly, whenever you're ready.
As a veteran of many years in American politics, I'm going to tell you something somewhat shocking. Joe Biden will not be the nominee of the Democratic Party in 2024. Kamala Harris will briefly become president, but the only way in their party they can replace a woman of color is with another woman of color. And yes, you heard it here first. The Democratic nominee for president will be Michelle Obama.
That's on the table.
They have already rigged their primaries. The reason that they have canceled the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary is to put South Carolina, a state where a majority of the Democratic primaries or primary voters are African Americans, and they will allow Gavin Newsom to purchase the vice presidential nomination, but the Obamas will hold him up for $600 or $800 million to do so. You heard it here first. When Steve Bannon says it in 3 weeks, remember I said it first.
Reports that Obama utilized, or he contacted Congress, Schumer, Pelosi, anybody in the Democratic Party, any bigwig out there, and the belief is that he may have threatened Joe Biden with the 25th Amendment. However, I did say something at the end of the previous video, and of course, the thing that I said at the end of the previous video that I released earlier was, these people have a tendency to throw their worldview on you, and of course that worldview that they have actually explains them perfectly. We'll be talking about over the course of this video here too, but you guys know me, I have to get through the setup, but let's go ahead and get back to it. For those who don't know who Roger Stone is, Roger Stone has been in politics for a very long time. He, at one point in time, was the guy that Trump initially called, I think, for Trump's potential dabble in the 2000 presidential election. Stone, of course, has a past, and of course, many people have kind of said that he was the, well, how do I say this? I'm going to be going old school with this term here, and some of you guys may not know who this guy is, but at one point in time in 1988, it was during that presidential election cycle between George Herbert Walker Bush and Michael Dukakis. George Herbert Walker Bush had a guy who was behind some of the strongest negative campaign ads you could ever imagine. This guy's name was Lee Atwater. Many people view Roger Stone as the original Lee Atwater, the guy who originally was extremely good at going negative. However, the thing about Roger Stone is this right here. Stone is a guy who knows a lot, and of course is a guy who at one point in time worked in the Nixon administration. It almost feels to me quite nostalgic seeing exactly what's really going on. And what I mean by nostalgic is simply looking back in history to see exactly what's been happening. Now, to all the people out there who have been theorizing that Barack Obama is heavily involved in this situation, I want you to know something right now. He's definitely involved. However, the question is, to what extent is he involved? Is he really and truly pulling the strings, or is he really and truly got his hand inside? Is he really and truly got his hand in the actual cookie jar itself? Is he the one moving things around? Well, in this episode of The Unusual Suspects, Roger Stone made an extremely good case of who exactly has been running the United States the entire time. Now, I'm going to link the full episode in the description box, but I'm going to be focusing in primarily on this little bit here involving Kamala Harris and, of course, the Trump assassination attempt, all that type of stuff there. But very, very interestingly, if you type that into Google, it actually won't pop up. You actually have to type it in all the way, like spelling out everything. Because yeah, is when you go like Google, you'll type in a word and sometimes it'll be followed up by another word. Well, for whatever reason, this right here has kind of been a bit of a problem. And to go on top of that, yeah, it seems to me like they're definitely censoring the net. But of course, we've also talked about how it is that they're trying to scrub Kamala Harris's actual record. But we'll get to that a little bit later in the video. Now, before we talk about Roger Stone, Obama, Trump, all this type of stuff, I want to go back in time to 2019 Democratic National Convention. Well, excuse me, 2020. It was 2019 when the candidates obviously announced and started doing debates. Barack Obama was involved in this, of course, but he was not as involved to the level that you might would think. To me, I think that the biggest line, or at least the biggest influence Obama had was, for the most part, being the guy that would ultimately put the crown on top of the head of who the eventual nominee was. If you read the book Lucky, and I understand I bring up this book a lot, and I haven't actually done a review on it or anything, but the thing is this right here. Joe Biden ultimately became the nominee, mostly because Jim Clyburn got involved. And as I said before, once the voter pool starts to get darker, next thing you know, somebody who's got ties to Obama is probably going to succeed, or they're probably going to take off. Bernie Sanders didn't have a chance once you got to South Carolina. Also, to go on top of that, it wasn't just Bernie Sanders. It was also Pete Buttigieg. It was also all the other people who were running, Elizabeth Warren included. And it's even stated that Barack Obama, when he went to donors or Wall Street itself in early 2020, he tried to pitch the idea of Elizabeth Warren being the eventual nominee. The donors did not go for this. I mean, why the hell would they not go for it? This woman's, bat crap crazy and a damn communist. But still, they asked about Biden. Before I talk about Biden again, the current situation, let's take a look at a famous clip that went viral right after the Democratic primary process started.
Among progressives in the United States, maybe it's true here as well, is a certain kind of rigidity where we say, I'm sorry, this is how it's going to be. And then we start sometimes creating what's called a circular firing squad, where you start shooting at your allies because one of them is straying from purity on the issues. And when that happens, typically the overall effort and movement weakens.
There is Obama in Berlin telling left-wingers in Europe, look, you don't want to create a circular firing squad. And of course, right after this, the Democratic primary debates, they were in fact a literal circular firing squad where these people were literally taking purity tests right there on the stage. Some of these right here, of course, would eventually include moments like the time that everybody piled on Biden because Biden at one point in time was an attorney. He was obviously embroiled in some issue involving busing in California. And of course, Kamala Harris attacked him over that. I would play that clip for you guys, but for some odd reason, they're really and truly going out of their way to bury that clip too. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of crap that they're trying to hide, especially given the fact that these were also the same exact people who at this moment in time are going out of their way to tell you that now they suddenly knew that Biden was cognitively impaired, but that right there is another thing to discuss altogether at the point in time. But leave it to someone like Roger Stone to have gotten this correct the whole time. You see, the truth be told about Obama's involvement in the Democratic Party is that, yes, he is the guy that ultimately crowns the eventual nominee because Obama, guess what? He is kind of their lord over there on that side. But the problem is that when you actually look into him, you find that he does not have the power you think he does have, but he definitely has some influence. Now, I want to go ahead and say this really quick. There's a difference between influence and a difference between power. Power is the actual ability to change, the actual ability to not only change, but the actual power to literally put your hand on the situation. Where influence, on the other hand, is mostly just what you say. How much does it influence the decision? And based upon these reports that have come out that basically say that Obama threatened the 25th Amendment on Biden and had Harris's approval, it's starting to look like, once again, Obama's got the true power in the party. But will all this come to pass? And with that, let's go ahead and dive into this.
From this guy, what do you think? That was the moment, Roger, where that plan was set in motion, when they were just like, listen, this is it.
Well, I think they had two options at that point. They said, we've either got to get rid of Trump or we got to get rid of Biden. Or maybe we get rid of both. It was clear to them that Joe wasn't up to a campaign. I predicted the assassination attempt in 2018 in an interview with New American Magazine.
Wow.
I said they'll try to impeach him. They'll try to bankrupt him. They'll try to throw him in jail. And I said they will ultimately try to kill him. 2018. And then, as I think you all know, more recently, I predicted that Joe would not run again. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I also predicted that Kamala would serve briefly as president. I may yet be right about that. We shall see. Final prediction was that Michelle Obama would be the candidate. I said it, I believe, on this show. Certainly said it on Patrick's show. I may or may not be right about that yet.
We'll
It's too
watch the next
early.
clip. I got to say this right here. Getting rid of Biden is, how do I say this? I'm not so sure that getting rid of Biden was their plan. My feeling was, well, they were going to get rid of him, yes, just not now. Which brings us to installing Kamala Harris as president. Now, we're going to watch a little bit more before I come back to what I was just saying. Because, yes, Roger Stone is saying they're going to try to install her as president at some point in time, even though it would not be much of a... Let's just watch this and we'll come back on the end. Now, I'll let that run for roughly a minute, but Roger's been correct about all of that. It was an op-ed that he wrote in 2018, and in that op-ed, he detailed exactly everything they were going to do to Trump or try to do to Trump since he had become president. This right here, of course, included, as you guys know, one impeachment, a second impeachment, and of course, those impeachments would all just end up making him stronger, at least as far as vote total was concerned, and it would also martyr him to a certain degree. Now, I want to say this real quick before we go any further. We don't like to use impeachment that often because if you just start impeaching random leaders, then after a while, it's just going to become a habit. Say the Republican gets elected, then the Democrats are going to want to impeach him again. Say the Democrat gets elected, maybe Republicans at some point in time want to impeach them too. However, the good news about the impeachments was this here. It eventually led to a court case where the Supreme Court did in fact get involved, or a lawsuit where hey, let's find out if we could actually imprison the president. And of course, the Supreme Court ruled that no, you can't actually imprison a president. You can't actually lock a president up for official acts during their administration unless you impeach them and actually convict them during impeachment, which, by the way, the Democrats were not able to do. But we had to deal with mud, Russia, intelligence community, all that type of crap, COVID, all that BS. And eventually, Trump left the office. I'm not going to talk about how that happened or why that's the case because of YouTube's algorithm, but still at the same time, though, we all know what happened. The point is this right here. Everything that Roger said has been correct. They tried bankrupting him, ruining his reputation, Mar-a-Lago raid. They've basically made this guy's life a living hell, and Trump just continues to just soldier on. They also recently, we're finding out more and more about exactly what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, the Secret Service failures. It seems to me like it's maybe possible that they at least set up the environment for an assassination to occur. And of course, you've got people out there trying to say that the assassination was fake because now Trump has taken off his bandage, and of course, it's revealed that he got plastic surgery. Is there something about Trump that doesn't strike me as a guy who doesn't have a little bit of vanity or a little bit of a narcissism, at least in a good way? I mean, I'm a Trump voter, and I'm telling you that this guy does have these qualities. So obviously, first chance he's going to get, he's probably going to get some plastic surgery on that, just simply saying. But let's continue.
Early to say. There seems to be a consolidation, but I think it's important. I never said she wanted to run. I never said she planned to run or that she hankered to be president. I believed when Trump's inevitability became clear that they would prevail upon her, they'd draft her.
Yeah.
And this convention, more than 50% of the delegates are non-white. So it is not a reflection of America. And about a third of the delegates are controlled by 3 union presidents.
Wow.
So I still think you have a great fluidity only because under this system, none of these delegates are legally pledged to do anything. They don't have to vote for Kamala because no one voted for Kamala.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, if she became president, which I still think is a possibility, obviously, she'd be the only president we had that no one voted for other than Gerald Ford.
Wow. And Roger, somebody, I think it was DC Drano, which I know you know, he tweeted or X'd something where he said, we were 1 inch away for having 2 people running for the president of the United States that nobody
Now that
voted
there
for.
was about Michelle Obama. Okay, and I'm going to talk very, very briefly on her. Then I'm going to come back to her again at the very end because I was talking about Kamala Harris earlier and Biden. Here's what I think ultimately happened. When you actually polled Biden versus Trump, Biden was the only one out of the potential pool of Democrat Party candidates that was actually doing good. However, if you guys remember correctly, it was the Atlantic. They wrote back in March of 2020, all we need is your corporeal form about Joe Biden. The plan, I believe, was to get Biden back to the election and then do exactly what they did. But remember, in order for them to do exactly what they did last time, they would need actual boots on the ground. They did have enthusiasm. It was what was going on with COVID. And I said before that it was mostly an anti-COVID vote that led to Biden being, that's what they took advantage of. This time around, you don't have that example. However, you do have the mainstream media going out there with the narrative that people were saying stuff like, well, people are flipping their votes they're flipping their votes to Harris. Trump voters are changing their vote. Nobody believes that crap. And if you watch the video I posted earlier, you would probably come away with the exact same impression that the media, once again, is trying to gaslight the American people. And of course, it's not working the way you would think it would work. Everything. And like I said, I advise you guys watch the full 24-minute segment. It's a very good segment. There's even that bit where Obama or the Obamas endorsed Kamala. But also to go on top of this, speaking of the Obamas, Michelle Obama was actually one of the most active people trying to get Kamala Harris donors. But it has also led people to believe that they will switch Kamala Harris out. Now, I think if they do that, especially given the fact that BLM, of all people, have not endorsed Kamala, yeah, I think this is going to cause a problem, which, by the way, brings us back to the original point. How much influence did Barack Obama have in this? I would say that Barack Obama had a lot of influence in removing Joe Biden. But it goes back to that worldview, because that worldview is very important because it explains the situation that Obama has inherited to this day. But back to Michelle Obama. Basically what Roger Stone was saying is that Trump's inevitability would force them to go to the nuclear option. Michelle Obama is not charismatic. She is not eloquent. You would actually lose Gen Z voters because of the lunch plan that she put out there. I think that Michelle Obama, people thinking that it would be a slam dunk, are delusional. If anything, if Michelle Obama was to run or want to run, it would probably be in 2028, based upon two factors. Number one, that would mean that Harris would have to be a transitional, actually three factors, my bad. Harris would have to be a transitional, meaning she's only going to run and be there 4 years. Biden, of course, if he had got the second term, which, by the way, Harris would have been president because they would have replaced Biden at some point in time. Or issue number three, in case the Trump administration absolutely fails and maybe there's an economic crash, a lot like what happened in 2008, which is exactly what it was that got Obama elected, not to mention the media, and I did touch on that briefly in the previous video. So I don't think Michelle Obama is going to be drafted at all. There may be a movement to try to draft her, but I actually think it's more realistic because of the polling data that they try to draft someone like, say, Hillary Clinton instead. And based upon the fact that Hillary and Obama's past is not a past where these two have really truly gotten along, I would think that one of the bigger leverages or one of the older leverages left in their party, sacred cows, would in fact be sacrificed, because we all know Hillary stands no chance at beating Trump. Let's watch this next part.
I don't know what the hell happened. So who knows and who's involved at that level?
Well, let's take it piece by piece. So there's no question that it was Barack Obama who drove Joe Biden from the White House. Mm-hmm. He decided Joe's going to go whether Joe wants to go or not. People I know who know President Biden tell me he's extraordinarily stubborn. He has a very, very high opinion of himself. And he was actually quoted by somebody I know on the Biden staff who said, when he was forced to throw in the towel, now I won't go down in history with FDR, LBJ, or even Bill Clinton as a great president.
Oh my God.
This guy actually thinks he's a great president.
Oh my God.
But that's been the hallmark.
And there's that worldview. If you guys watched any of my previous few videos, I've talked about Kamala Harris naming Pete Buttigieg as her VP. Buttigieg is a gay white guy that Muslim voters in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Northern Virginia are going to go for. And apparently she's deciding to campaign in Florida, of all places, a solidly red state that Trump has locked up. Now, I could see how Buttigieg could help her out in a state like, say, Arizona or possibly Nevada, which, of course, she's trailing by drastically, because there are suburban wine moms who think that Buttigieg is cute or whatnot, and they feel bad for him, even though, obviously, I can't really talk about his lifestyle here on YouTube, or else I will get removed. But still, I think it's a bit of a futile effort, especially given the fact that the money was held up. And by the way, they're running that side too, that she's raised so much money. Now, she hasn't really raised any money. She's just getting the money that was held up. Now, of course, that really will come up more so towards the end of the video, which we're getting close to. But the thing is this right here. These people are throwing their worldview on you. Biden actually believes he's a great president. By the way, the people that he named off, those guys there were, I mean, in my personal opinion, great presidents. FDR's, his policies prolonged the Great Depression, and while people give him credit for winning World War II, it was the framework that he tried to draft at the end of the war, right before he died, that Truman followed through on, that gave us the Cold War. You should listen to George S. Patton. You should have kicked the Russians out of Eastern Europe. But, once again, here we are. LBJ, in my opinion, is definitely one of the worst presidents in American history. He's one of the biggest reasons why it is. We've got the problems that we have to this day. The Great Society Plan, which really in a lot of ways was reparations for black people. Of course, they just forget about that. But I'm pretty sure you guys kind of see where I'm going with this. This guy really and truly believes he's a great president. They've got him actually believing that. But like I said before, it's that worldview. These same people also believe that picking Josh Shapiro, a governor who's only been governor 1 year, who's Jewish, by the way, is going to suddenly give them Muslim votes in these areas. I'm just saying that their worldview is a worldview that's completely out of touch with the actual world itself. But let's watch this last part.
You've seen him arguing about how high his IQ was,
Yeah.
and how I was first in my class. All it was bullshit, of course.
Yeah.
So he's very, very, very angry. He got squeezed out. He did not want to go, and that was all orchestrated by Barack Obama. It was Obama who cut off the money. It was Obama who convinced Nancy Pelosi through her surrogate Adam Schiff to tell the guy to drop. It was Barack Obama who lined up George Clooney to do the op-ed for the New York Times. The media tells us the other way around. Not a chance. He orchestrated this. Now, he also did not immediately endorse Kamala Harris because I think he still has very grave reservations about her ability to win a general election. This morning's news is that he has endorsed her. But again, I point out to you, nobody here is legally bound, and their convention is not until August 19th, and that's a lifetime in politics.
Okay, so you guys can obviously see that Roger Stone has been correct about a lot. You can obviously see that Roger Stone is definitely on to something about Obama being very, very much involved. And like I said, I believe he was very, very much involved, and kind of goes back to what I said earlier. The question is to what extent. I believe he's very, very much involved in what's going on. However, go back to what I was saying earlier about worldview. The Democratic Party worldview, or Democratic Party voters, the worldview has changed, especially when it comes to the topic of Obama. He's still popular, but let me take you guys into something else too. When I first got on this platform, I spent about a good 2 or 3 years listening to mostly commentary, of course, when I did. Because, I mean, I go to YouTube primarily because it just isn't anything on TV anymore, okay? You watch film essays, you get to learn new stuff, things you didn't know before, or maybe it clamps down on something that you knew before, something very, very interesting. And one of the things that I noticed was a lot of progressive far lefties were running away from Obama. They didn't view Obama positively. They viewed Obama really no different than they did George W. Bush. Drone strikes occurred, drone strikes in the Middle East. There was even one incident where he drone struck an American citizen. I mean, the fact of the matter is that these people really and truly don't care that much for Obama, which makes me wonder exactly how polluted Barack Obama is. Then again, this is also the same news cycle that said that Barack Obama had a scandal-free presidential administration. Fast and Furious, Benghazi, the list goes on and on and on. That's how much these people have lied. Even progressive lefties don't believe the BS. And to me, this right here is further solidified at the very beginning of the video when I showed you guys that clip of Obama talking about circular firing squad. The minute Obama said that, I think it was the first debate, the second debate, the third, fourth, fifth, it was every single debate the Democratic Party had. Guess what? It was literally a circular firing squad. What I'm saying is this here. Obama has influence, but not the full power. Did Obama call Joe and say, yeah, I've got Kamala on board to invoke the 25th Amendment? More than likely, yeah. But Obama's overall power on the party going forward, I think it's highly limited. I mean, if it really and truly was that powerful, Donald Trump would be down in the polls by 10 to 15 points. I did tell you guys, I was going to tell you what I thought about some of the other things that Roger Stone has said. Now, I personally don't think Michelle Obama will be inserted in as the Democratic Party nominee. I stand by that. Now, of course, I could be wrong. There's also a little bit in there where he said that Gavin Newsom would be held up. Have to pay a lot of money, of course, to get the vice presidential slot. I don't think that's going to happen because I think Gavin Newsom would actually bring down the ticket. As a matter of fact, I can't see a scenario where you really can actually improve the ticket that's already there. I believe that they're going to ride Kamala all the way to the end, and I personally believe that they are going to try to install her at some point in time. They'll try to fake something, say Biden died or something like that there, and she'll be president for a grand total of 3 months. However, those 3 months are important because a president's last days can be the most critical. There was a video that Glenn Beck released a while back on possible color revolution, and something just tells me that this right here is the person that they would try to attempt to do said color revolution under. However, that right there is another topic to discuss for another day. So yes, Roger Stone so far has been, for the most part, correct on most, if not everything that's been going on right now. And I tend to trust him, even though I don't fully like Roger, given his experience, the things he's seen being in the Nixon White House. It seems to me that his words are becoming more and more and more prophetic. But as far as Obama's power level, well, if he does have power, and like I said before, he obviously has power over the current administration and influence. However, if you guys remember Barack Obama, then you would know that Obama would only get up at about 9 o'clock in the morning. He wouldn't actually do any real work, and he was seen to be very, very smug. I advise you guys check out the book by Ed Klein, The Amateur. Yes, he's got power, but he's not much of a manager. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please sign off. I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say, your thoughts, and I'll see you guys later.